So please make sure, like, if you want to if you want to save this recording, save it, uh, because most probably in another 30 days it would be deleted from the Teams. Okay, so before that, try to save on your drive or location anywhere. Okay, so today we will create one group, okay, WhatsApp group, in which all the members would be added. Any communication, any queries, so first you have to post on that group. Okay. Chalo, let's start up with Excel. So firstly, to use Excel, the product, the Office product should be installed on your system. Okay. Now, as I said, if you want to use Power Query, Power Pivot, okay, the minimum requirement would be Excel 2016. Okay. See, as I said, it was the Power BI development was started in 2009 and it was introduced in 2013. But as I told you before that, the testing was going on and on Excel, because in 2010, okay, this add-ins was introduced in Excel. Which add-ins? The five add-ins, the four add-ins that I told you yesterday. One is your Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, and Power Map. Okay, so these were introduced in Excel to extend the limit of Excel, the limitations that we seen yesterday. First limitation was number of rows and columns. Okay, so Power Query and Power Pivot give you the ability to increase the limitations. So when you're playing around with Power Query or Power Pivot, you can play around with more than uh, 1 million records. That is 10,48,576. So if you have crores of records, you can play around with using Power Query and Power Pivot. Okay. So usually one limitation or one cap using Power Query and Power Pivot is maximum file size should be 2 GB. Okay, so most probably if your data is limited to 2 GB, then you can play around with Power Query and Power Pivot in Excel. Even though if the data size, the table size that you are using is more than 10,48,576 records. Okay. Okay, so let's start up with Excel. So I'll go with Excel. Okay. See, when we say about Excel 2010 and 13, okay, so previously, before some months back, okay, we were having the ability to download this add-ins, that is Power Query and Power Pivot add-in in 2010 and 2013, which was provided by Microsoft and it was free. Okay. So you have to just come to Google and you have to write Power Query add-in for Excel. So you would have got the exe file. But now, okay, you don't have that option available. Microsoft has discontinued the exe files for 2010 and 13, because from 2016 and later on versions, okay, your Power Query, Power Pivot, Power Map is been integrated in Office product, which means you don't have to install any other application, exe file. Okay, so तुम्हारे को ग्रुप मिल गया, लेकिन ग्रुप आ गया ना। हाँ, तो ये जब खत्म हो जाएगा आपको ग्रुप के अंदर रिकॉर्डिंग मिल जाएगी। ओके, सो nowadays if you're using 10 and 13, most probably you will not get the add-in exe file from Microsoft. Okay, if you find it from any third-party application provider, you can download and you can use it. But if you have 2016 and later on versions, mostly uh, this add-ins has been integrated in your Excel file. Okay, first let's try to understand whenever we are working on Excel files. Okay, so basically in today's time, we have two types of Office product. One is your desktop file, desktop version, and the second one is your cloud version. So when we say about desktop, okay, when we say about desktop, yesterday we have created one Excel file, right? So I'll open that file. So you will find all your notes in that file. Power Query 05. Okay. So this was the file which was created yesterday. So I'll use this file because this file will act as in notes for you. Okay. So yeah. So as I said, when we are saying about Excel versions, okay. So we have two types of get component numbers. That is Power BI mobile. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so when we say about versions of Excel, so you have two types of version, that is desktop version, and the second one would be your cloud version. So when we say about desktop, so most probably you have heard about 2003, 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, 2019, 2021, and 2024 is the latest of your desktop. And when we say about cloud, so only we have one version, that is Microsoft Microsoft 365. Okay. So as we see about desktop version, so every 3 years you get a new version. Okay. So whenever new functions is been added, it is not roll out in each and every version of your desktop. The new version will get that uh, options available. But when we say about Office 365, so usually every year you have to renew your Office 365 product. Okay, every year you have to pay a cost for it. Okay, but when we say about desktop versions, it is lifetime validity. So if you have purchased 2003, so it is validate for your entire life. Okay, you don't have to renew your license each and every year. But when we say about Office 365, Office 365, we have to pay each and every year. Okay, so most probably whenever a new function or a feature is been rolled out, so most probably the first version which will get the update is Office 365. Okay. Then the offline version will come into picture. So if you want the full flexibility that you're using all the options, all the functions, or the features, so most probably you can opt for Office 365 product. Mostly companies use Office 365 product. Now, how we will know like we are on which version? Okay. So what you have to do is you have to come to file. Okay. In file, you can go on account. As soon as you come in on account, see over here, you will find like my current version is Microsoft 365. Okay. So basically I am using cloud version. Okay. Which is most up to date. You will find all the options on Office 365. Okay. Okay. Now, as we have known, like I am using Office 365, so I have all the features available with me. But when you're working on 16, 19, 21, 24, so some features, some option would be not available on that version, on offline version. Okay, but it's not an issue. You can then to use or you can then to go with that options as well. So it's not compulsory that each and every time I have to opt for Office 365 because the license cost is not that cheap. Okay, but yesterday, as I showed you, we do have certain options. Okay, where we can offer Office 365 at a very cheap rate. Okay, chalo. Now let's try to understand. Okay, where is Power Query? Where you will find Power Query? Okay, as I told you, 2016 and later on versions, things are integrated in your product. Okay, so if you want to find or if you want to go to that Power Query option, what you have to do is you have to come on Data tab. Data type, you will find one group at the left this corner. Okay. The group name would be get and transform data. If you are able to see these two terms should be involved, get and the second term would be transform. If you are able to find get and transform data, which means Power Query is integrated in your version. Okay. If you are not able to find, see, sometimes you will find get external data. Get external data is not Power Query. Power Query is get and transform data. Okay. So if you are able to see this, which means Power Query is integrated in your version. Okay. Now let's try to see what all options are available over here and what are they called. The first option would be get data. As I told you, the first thing that data analyst would do is gather data or extract the data or retrieve the data from where? From sources. Okay. So most probably as soon as you click on this get data drop down, you will find something like get file, get database from Azure, from Fabric, from online. So usually these are known as group of connectors. And in this, as soon as you click over here, you will find some more option that is from PDF, from folder, which means these are known as connectors. Okay. For an example, take an example over here. If something is bad with my water pipe, so you will call whom? An electrician or plumber? Plumber, right? So basically over there, you are connecting to a connector using what? Plumber. Okay, so plumber will act as an connector. As I told you, Power Query, Power Pivot gives you the capability of connecting to multiple sources. It can be an Excel file, it can be a text file, it can be a cloud source, SharePoint, OneDrive. Okay. So basically, as I told you, Power BI gives you capability of connecting more than 180 plus data sources. 180 plus data sources. And each and every month this changes. Okay. So the numbers are not fixed. Okay.
ये डेटा सोर्स में ये सपोज एग्जांपल है ये जो अपना ये 6 7 5 5 to 6 दिख रहा है तो
These are the connectors. ये connectors पे as soon as you hover on this connector, you will find the connectors. These are group of connectors.
डेटा आता है ये डेटा का सोर्स है मतलब
See, for an example, let's try to understand. So just give me 2 minutes. Let me first complete this. Then I'll give you the example. Like what do you mean by data source and how we are retrieving that? Okay. First, try to understand what are connectors. Okay. So basically, these are connectors. When we compare with Excel and Power BI connector, Excel has less connectors as compared to Power BI. Okay, because Power BI will not give all the feature in Excel. If Power BI is giving all the features in Excel, then no one will opt for Power BI. Okay, so basically Excel is just for your testing purpose, just to make you addicted to opt for Power BI. Okay, so let's try to understand the count of connectors in Power BI is more than in Excel. Okay, you will not find exactly same connectors in Excel. Okay, okay. Chalo. Now let's try to understand. These are connectors. Okay, okay. Now if you come over here down, you will find more option like launch Power Query editor window. Okay, so see over here Power Query term is being used, which gives the confirmation that this is Power Query. Okay. Now let's try to click on this launch Power Query editor window. A new window will be launched over here. A new window will be launched over here and all the data transformation activity will be done over here, not on Excel. Okay. Though you are using this feature on Excel, which doesn't mean that you are playing on Excel. Basically, when you are playing on Power Query, the window would be different. When you are playing on Power Pivot, the window would be different. Okay. So for each and every components, the windows are different. Okay. Now let's try to understand. If you have opened Power Query, okay, your Excel will be freezed. You can't work on Excel. Okay. So just don't say that your Excel application has hang. It's not hang. Basically, let's try to see if any Power Query window is open on any of the Excel file. If it is open, then what you have to do is you have to close that file. Then only your Excel will be unfreezed. You can work on Excel. So which means you can't work simultaneously on Excel and Power Query. Simultaneously, we can't work on Excel and Power Query. If I am working on Power Query, then you can't work on Excel. If you're working on Excel, you can't work on Power Query. Okay, clear till here? Okay, now let's try to understand. The question would be the types of data sources. Types of data sources. Okay, see, this is very important. As I told you, Excel, Power Query and Power Pivot gives you the capability of connecting to multiple sources. As I told you previously, what we used to do is whatever source you are getting your data from, we used to copy that data. We used to come to Excel file and we used to paste that data, and we first used to transform that data to work on Excel. Okay. But right now, as I told you, we don't have to copy paste the data. What we have to do is we have to just build a connection, as I told you over here. Okay. If you see above, as I told you, take an example. This is your source. So what we are doing, we are connecting to our sources. This is your Excel file. This is your text file. This is your cloud source. What we are doing is with the help of these connectors, we are connecting to our sources. And using Power Pivot, what we are doing, instead of combining these tables, what we are doing, we are just building relationship. Okay. Now let's try to understand what I am going to say is, see, this can be a hot question in your interview. Types of data sources in Power BI. So usually we have two types of data source in Power BI. Okay. One would be your on-premises. Second would be your cloud source. Okay. On-premises and cloud source. Okay. Now let's try to understand between these two. Okay. Because before using this get data, before using this get data, you need to understand from where you are taking your data. Okay. It is on premises or it is cloud. Huh? On premises and cloud. Okay. So can anyone say like what do you mean by on premises and what do you mean by cloud?
तो हमारा सीट वर्किंग तो उस सीट में अपने डेटा जो लेते हैं उसको आंतरिक मैसेज कर
Okay.
और जो हम डेटा से स्ट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं
Okay.
उसको हम क्लाउड
Okay. So you mean to say if I'm getting any data from the same file, for an example, yesterday I've used this data which was available in the same workbook. Okay. So I'm not saying this. Okay. So he is saying that any data that you're taking from the same workbook would be referred as on premises. And any data which is coming outside this workbook, coming from outside this workbook would be referred as cloud, right? Huh? Okay. So basically, this is not the right answer. Hmm. Okay, let me give you one example. Okay, let me give you one example, and with that example, we will make us understand like what is cloud and what is on-premises. For an example, you have X amount. Definitely, we all have X amount. I'm not saying that certain amount, but definitely we all have certain amount, like 100 rupees, 1000 rupees, 10,000 lakhs and crores. It can be anything. Okay. So my question for you is, do you have all this amount in liquid form? No. So in what all forms you have your amount? But that too. No, amount. Amount means money, not your assets. For an example, you have 10,000 rupees. Take an example. Okay. So one option can be liquid cash, and the second option would be in your accounts, bank accounts. Okay. Now over here, these are your two sources. One is your liquid form, and the second one is your cloud form. So basically, whatever amount is there in your bank, is there liquid? No. But if you open, you can withdraw that amount from any ATM, any bank, right? There is no such rules that you have to go to that bank and only you can withdraw from there. Okay. But the amount that you have in liquid form is in your wallet or in your pocket. Okay. Can you take that amount from someone else's pocket? No. So got the difference between on-premises and cloud? What do you mean by on-premises is any data that you're taking from your system hard drive, system memory would be referred as on-premises. And any data that you're collecting from cloud source, it can be OneDrive, it can be shared drive, it can be databases, it can be AWS, it can be Azure, it can be Microsoft Fabric, it can be Salesforce. Okay. So any data which is not available on your system and you're trying to retrieve from cloud sources will be referred as cloud data source. Okay. When we see about on-premises, see, it can be anything. It can be an Excel file, it can be an PDF, it can be an what we say text file, but it is available on your system. Okay. Extension is not fixed. Extension can be anything, but the place is fixed. That is my hard drive. Will be referred as on-premises. Got it? Any doubt?
Excel has limited functions than Power BI.
Limited functions, not.
It's less features than Power BI.
It's not about features. It is about limitations, capabilities.
I have a question that why did Microsoft put all in one hand?
Yesterday I explained you. Yesterday I explained you. The reason is previously in 2003 Excel, we were having 65,536 rows and 256 columns only. In 2007, there was a revolution that the 65,000 limit was crossed to 10,48,576 and 256 limit was crossed to 16,384. But the problem over here was when I put this much of data, when I put 4 to 5 lakhs of data, my Excel file used to get hang. Okay. So I can't extend more. Okay, because that was a problem. If things are getting worse, then people will leave me. My user will leave me. Okay. Now your thing is like, why should, why not all the products should be mixed to one? Okay. Okay. Now, see, we have multiple cars, trucks, cycle, rickshaw. Why we don't have only one? What would be your answer? Different users. For an example, my company, I know my company data will not exceed 50,000 records. Never ever. So why should I opt for Power BI? Why should I pay more? Got it? I just don't want to go live. I'm okay to work offline. So why should I opt for Power BI? Instead of paying $5, why should I pay $25? Got it? Okay. So we were on types of data sources. Okay. Now let's try to understand, see, where and when your connector will come into picture. For an example, as I told you, see, I want to now, I know I want to connect to OneDrive on-premises connection. Okay. But definitely when I am connecting to on-premises connection, what extension I am connecting to? Is it a Excel file? It is a text file? Is it a PDF file? So I have to choose my connector wisely. If it is Excel, then I'll go for Excel. If it is PDF, I'll go for PDF. If I'm connecting to a folder, I'll go with from folder. See, when we see about SQL, even in SQL, we have multiple third-party vendors like Microsoft SQL Server is there, PL SQL is there, Oracle is there. Okay. So from here, whatever DB you're connecting to, if your DB is available in Microsoft SQL Server, you will go with SQL Server database. If it is in Oracle database, you will click on Oracle database. So whatever source you are connecting to, so wisely you have to choose the connectors from here. You can't go with some other connector. Okay, as I told you, I have plumbing work, so I'll call plumber. I'll not call electrician over here. If I'm calling electrician, it won't work. Okay, got it? So basically, got like when to use when. Your question is clear over here. Okay. Now let's try to move ahead and let's try to see on what data source we are going to work on. This data source, we are going to start from today and till the end, we are going to use this data source only. We are not going to use any other data sources because this is not feasible to change the data source daily. Okay, it will not work with us because when you're working on a project, you have a single data source. Okay, so we'll try to cover each and every topic of Power BI using this data source. Okay, apart from this, whenever you're practicing, you can use multiple types of data sources. Timely, I'll say you which data source to use and how to create more projects. Okay, but my topics would be covered on the same data source. So today is the point, the second point, that is analyze data. Okay, now get data and analyze data will come into picture. So firstly, let's try to understand what data source we are going to connect to. So I am going to connect to my system file. See, I'm saying what? I am connecting to my system file. Okay. On my desktop, I have a folder that is Power BI Daily. You will find this file. Okay. I'll share you the link. I'll give you the access of the folder. Okay. So you will find the same file over there as well. So what you have to do is from that file, you have to create a copy of it. So copy that and save it to some of your folder on your system. Okay. Don't alter my file. Don't delete my file. Don't do anything in my file because this has been accessed with all the TechGen students. Okay, so just take a copy of it and work on it. Okay, so the file name would be sample superstore. This is very uh, used file on internet. Okay, so you'll find it everywhere. So if you go on Google and if you write sample superstore, you will find multiple files of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is currently I'll open this file. Let's try to understand what all things are there in this file. Okay, so as I see, there are four sheets. There are four sheets. Excel is the only data source which can have multiple pages. Apart from Excel, no such data source have multiple pages in it. Okay. For an example, if you're connecting to a CSV file, the rule of CSV file is you will have only one sheet over there. Not more than one sheet can be placed on a CSV file. Basically, that is a notepad file, text file. Okay. So apart from Excel, you will not find such messy thing because in Excel, there is no such rule like you have to place only 10 files, 15 files. You can place as many as 5. And in Excel, you have two forms of data. Your information can be in two forms. One is known as range and the second one is table. Okay. So in Excel, you can place your information in two form. One would be your static range and the second one would be your table. For an example, let's try to understand. If you come to people, so basically there are 5 records. One is your header and you have 4 information like which region is been taken care by which person. Okay. If I come to this people too now, you will find same information, but the form is different. If you click over here, you will find table design, which means this is a table. And if you come over here, information is same, but the form is different. This is your static range. Basically, when we say about range and static range, this is referred to unstructured data. There is no structure defined. It can be vertical, it can be horizontal, but tables cannot be horizontal. Tables will always be vertical. Vertical means headers above, records down. Clear? Hai? So your static range is unstructured and tables are structured. And Excel has this capability of holding this too. So whenever you are working with Excel data source, you have to be more careful over here. Okay, what you're working on, a table or a range. If you're working on a range, then your more transformation steps can come into picture to make it more clean, because it is not clean. It can be in any form. Okay, then clear. Hai? So what we have over here is we have three different tables. One is your orders table, second is your return table, and third is your people table. So let's try to understand what is your order. Basically, this is a sales data where you have order ID and some information about this order ID, when it was placed, when it was shipped, what was the ship mode, what was the customer ID, what is your customer name, what is the segment of it, and how much sale amount, how much quantity was given, how much discount was given, and what is the profit generated on this. So basically, this is something related to sales. Now see how to analyze it. Basically, as I see, how many columns are there? 21 columns are there. How many records are there? 999, 4 records are there. So this should be stored. This is part of your analysis. Okay. Further, we will see more. Like, are there any blank records over here? Are there any errors over here? Do we need any uh, transformation or cleaning activity to be performed on it? But right now we have clear 21 columns are there, and this record, this information is something related to sales. Okay, and 999 4 records are there. Okay, I'll come to return. Now see, return has only two columns. One is your order ID, and the second one is return. Let's try to see, are there any something else record like yes or no? No is also involved, so no is not involved. Okay. Then what? How many we have? So 296. For an example, yesterday I ordered something from Amazon. Today the order came at my home. Okay. I see the size is not fitting. So what I'll do? I'll place and return. So basically, this is something related to this. Among these 999 4 records, 296 records are placed written. Okay, which means this is connected to this. Same, we can understand like which region is been taken care by which person. Basically, this person entry is not available in this. In this, what we have is we have region. Okay, okay. So which means these all three tables are indirectly connected, which means all three tables are indirectly connected to each other. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to connect this file. Okay, chalo. Now let's try to understand. See, the first thing, your source should not be open. The source that you are connecting to, it should not be open. You can connect to a closed file. Okay, chalo. Now let's go to get data. Okay, then I'll go with from file. I'll go with Excel workbook because that was an Excel workbook. So I'll click over here. As soon as I click, it will ask me for the location from where I want to get that thing. So if you're connecting to a cloud source, so usually you will have a data server name, then DB name, and your credentials. So you have to provide that thing to connect to cloud. But definitely when you're connecting to a cloud source, you should be connected to internet. If internet connectivity is not there, you can't connect to cloud sources. Okay, then. Okay, so what I have to do is I'll come to desktop. I'll go with Power BI daily file over here. See, as you can see previously there were multiple files showing, but now we are just seeing Excel files. The reason behind this is we are just connecting to Excel. So the connector that you're using, you will find only that extensions files. Okay. Okay, so my file is sample superstore. I'll click over here and I'll go with import. As soon as I click import, see, this connector will read all the content in that file. It will give you this window. As we have seen, there were 4 sheets, right? Orders, people to, and returns. If you can see the icon, this icon indicates that this is sheets and this is table. There were one table, people underscore table. Okay. Now let's try to understand. See, as I told you, when you're working on Excel file, you need to be careful because firstly, your type of data. One is your table, second one is your range. For an example, if you see people underscore table, if I click over here, things are proper. I can see header above and records down. Let's come to order. In order also, things are good. This is the preview window where you can see like how your data is coming. If you're okay with this, you can go with load or you can go with transform. Okay. So as I told you, things are good over here as well. Headers are promoted and everything records are properly placed over here. Let's come to people. Do you find something fishy over here? Heading. Heading is not promoted, right? This is a static range, right? And previously people, we have a table. See, when we are working on table, if we have set over there that this is your header, so it will be promoted. But when you're working on a static range, if system understands, or else we can say AI understands that these are headers, it will promote. If it doesn't understand, it will not promote. For an example, if you take an on order, even order was static range, but it has promoted the header, but not goes for people and even not goes for return as well. Okay, so this question would be parked for you. Okay, why? Okay, why it has not promoted the header over here and why it has promoted the header with orders? This would be a question for you. Okay, after some time you can take your time and you can answer this question. Okay. Okay, now let's try to understand. See, obviously I have noticed that few transformation is needed. I can't work with this thing because I need to, before working with this, I need to promote the header. So I would go with transformation. As I told you, Power Query is ETL or else ELT. What do you mean by ETL? I have done E. Get data is E. Then C, T. If you want to transform, I'll go with transform. If I want to load, I can directly go with load and then I can go with transform. Okay. So what do you mean by ETL? ETL will means first you extract, then transform and then load. And ELT means first you extract, you load it, and afterwards you can transform it. So you can go with anything. Okay. But for time being, I am going with transformation because I have seen like I can't work further before transforming this. So I'll go with transform data. Okay, before transforming data, I want to take 3 tables. I'll click select multiple item. I'll go with orders, people, and return. I'm not connecting to a table. Purposely, I'm connecting to static range. Okay. Now let's try to click on transform data. As soon as I transform this data, it will take me to Power Query editor window. Okay. Then, okay. So let's try to introduce ourselves with this Power Query editor window. Let's try to explore the interface of Power Query editor window. Okay. Things will change over here because we are habitual to Excel. Okay. Things are not as good as Excel over here. Things have changed. Okay. Let's try to understand. When you're working on Excel, you're working on 2 types of uh, data. That is, one is your flat range and the second one is your tables. Okay. But now, from now onwards, as we are not using Excel, we are using Power Query, Power BI components. So let's try to understand. Whenever you're working on Power BI components, you're working on a table. Each and every data source that you are extracting would come over here in form of tables. Even though if you're working on video files, if you're working on images, that too, that data will come over here in form of tables. So each and everything over here would come in table form. So the first rule when you're working on table is what? Your data should be vertically aligned. Vertically means header above, informations down. Header would be referred as fields. Basically, this there are some terms used. Okay, so don't get confused. Header means this, fields means this. Okay, and information or records means this, rows. Okay, so columns means header, columns means field, rows means records, rows means information. Okay, any doubt till here? Okay, do you know? Uh, have everyone worked on SQL? No. Okay. So in SQL, whenever you're working on SQL, okay, the first thing that you create is database, DB. In that DB, what we have? We have tables. And after that, how you create tables? So we have two steps. Firstly, we will create a table. Secondly, we will insert the records, right? So whenever you're creating a table, how you create a table? The query to create a table would be create table, your table name. For an example, my table name would be orders. Okay. Okay. Comma. Then we have columns name like row ID. Row ID as whole number. Basically over there would be INT. INT or float data type. So if you see over here, each and every header, beside that on the left side, you will have this. Basically, these are the data type of that particular column. Each and every field will have only one data type. In Excel, you can store as many as data type in one column. For an example, the first record should be, it can be date. The second record should be, it can be a text, anything. But over here, it can't. Each and every field has only one data type. Okay. So the first step would be, see, this promote header. Have you performed this action? No. Have you performed this change type? See, automatically data type is been assigned. These two steps has been done by the system. It's not compulsory every time it will do it. It depends. Okay. But by using some dynamic thing, we can restrict this when to perform and when not to. Okay, that we will see later on. But try to understand each and every field has one data type. Okay, if you find like this should not be given to this, if you want to change it, so you can click over here and you can change the data type. Okay, now let's try to explore the interface of Power Query. The same above you will find what? You will find tabs. But in tabs, you don't have options or commands. This all basically below this tab, you have ribbon. This thing is known as ribbon, same as Excel. You can, if you want a more working space, you can collapse this. If you don't find the option, what you can do is again you come over here and click over here, expand it. Okay. So basically on this ribbon, what you have is this all are referred as UI functions. These are not commands and options like Excel. Basically on Excel, we will say these are option and commands. But in Power Query, whatever thing is been placed on this ribbon will be referred as UI functions. Okay. Then below you have four different windows. One is your query window. So whatever source you are extracting, that source will come over here in form of queries. Basically, this would be referred as queries. You will not say that these are tables. Okay. If you're working on Power Query editor window, never ever say that these are tables. Basically, this would be referred as queries. Then you have settings for this query. For an example, what would be your query name? You can change it from here. Even you can double click and you can change it from here. Whatever name you want to give, you can give it here to your query. It's not compulsory. The name which was assigned in your source should be same. No, you can change it over here. Okay. After that, you will find steps over here. In SQL, what we write? We write queries. Select star from table name, where your conditions, group by, having clause. है ना? So basically that are queries. What is the work of query? Each and every step would be executed. Whatever step you have written, each and every time you refresh the query, your each and every step would be executed. For an example, see, whenever you're making some dish, okay, so you make it step by step. First, you will wash your vegetable. That is your first step. Second step would be chop it. Third step would be bake it. Fourth step would be plater it. Okay. So each and every time, whenever you're creating pav bhaji, this step would be involved, right? It should not be like first we will do the platering, then we will wash, right? So basically, see, as I told you, Power Query is known as firstly no code. No code means end user. It's not compulsory for the user to write codes. No code. No code data transformation. Transformation means any changes. For an example, if I don't want this column, row ID, I can come and delete it. This is the transformation I have done. I have got 21 columns, but I have removed one column because I don't need it. So basically, this would refer as transformation. Okay. So what I said, no code. See, to remove that column, have I written any code? No, but on my behalf, one code was written. Remove table dot remove column. Have I written this code? No.
Yes, still we have to write it.
Definitely in SQL, you don't have that option. But over here, you can perform that option without writing it. So that's why I said no code. Second would be data transformation. Any changes that you're doing to your current data source would be referred as data transformation. Data transformation. The third thing would be automation tool. Why automation? I've performed this step, right? Next time, I don't have to perform this step. Previously, I showed for this one, table one, right? Okay. अभी यही है. कौन है? विवेक है क्या? भेजो ना उसको. हाँ पूछो.
सर जब आपने वो आपका जब उसको अपलोड सीट को अपलोड किया सर वो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन पे क्लिक किया तो वो क्या हुआ मतलब
ये यहाँ पे आया ना. ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन क्लिक करोगे. एक सिंपल सी चीज. लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. यू आर सेइंग कि है. So you're saying so yesterday we have started with this batch. Okay, so today, as you can say, today is our first session. We have started the technical piece over here. So we have started with Power Query. Okay, so you can continue from here. The first introduction I'll make your doubt clear. Okay, okay. So हाँ, आपने क्या कहा कि आपने ये कहा कि आपने ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन पे क्लिक हुआ तो क्या हुआ समझाने. एक सिंपल सी चीज मैं आपको पूछता हूँ. एज आई टोल्ड यू कि दिस इज द एप्लीकेशन वेयर यू आर गोइंग टू ट्रांसफॉर्म योर डेटा, राइट. आपको पाव भाजी बनाना था. आपने सब्जी तो लेके आ गए. सब्जी लाने के बाद आप कहाँ पे बनाओगे? कहाँ पे बनाओगे? हॉल में बैठ के कट करोगे, बाथरूम में बैठ के कट करोगे, कि किचन पे जाओगे? किचन पे जाओगे ना. तो हम किचन पे आ गए. This is the kitchen to transform your data. So whenever you're clicking on transformation, it will come to Power Query editor window. This is the interface and this is the work area to transform your data or to automate your data transformation piece. So whenever you're clicking on transformation, it will land you to Power Query editor window. देखो ऑब्वियस ही बात है. जैसे ये लैंड हुआ, things have changed, right? हम यहाँ पे आ गए. सी, we have taken orders, we have taken people. I have taken return. So all we can see it over here. ये टेबल 1 क्यों आ रहा है? कल हमने लिया था, कल हमने एक लिया था ना, ये वाले एक्सेल में से, हमारे एक्सेल में से लिया था, इसके लिए वो टेबल 1 भी आपको दिख रहा है।
उधर एक वो टेबल है, बाकी सब सीट दिख रहा था, उसका आइकन एक डिफरेंट था, करेक्ट सर। वो तो जो हमने अपलोड किया था वो तो एक्सेल सीट ही था, तो उसको कैसे पता चला कि वो टेबल है, बाकी सब सीट है?
तो यही तो कैपेबिलिटी। अभी ऑब्वियस सी बात है, एक सिंपल सी चीज है, अगर आप प्लम्बर को बुलाओगे तो उसको पता है मेरे को प्लम्बिंग का ही काम करना है, वो थोड़ी आके इलेक्ट्रिशियन का काम करेगा। करेगा क्या? नहीं है। हमने गेट डेटा में जाके, इसके लिए मैंने क्या कहा था, व्हाट वी हैव टू डू इज वी हैव टू सेलेक्ट द कनेक्टर्स वाइजली। हमने गेट डेटा में जाके क्या किया था, एक्सेल कनेक्टर्स चूज किया था। तो जब एक्सेल कनेक्टर चूज किया तो एक्सेल को पता है कि भाई मेरे को एक्सेल फाइल को रीड करना है करके। इसी के लिए मैंने आपसे कहा ना कि पाइप अगर खराब है तो प्लम्बर को बुलाओगे, अब इलेक्ट्रिशियन को थोड़ी बुलाओगे। और अगर अपने प्लम्बर को बुलाया है तो वो प्लम्बिंग का ही काम देखेगा, वो थोड़ी ना लाइट का काम करेगा। वो मेरे जैसा सार्वजनिक नहीं होगा।
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है सर, एक्सेल सीट तो एक ही था,
एक्सेल शीट कैसे एक था? एक्सेल
फाइल
फाइल भी नहीं। देखो मैं हमेशा एक चीज कहता हूँ आप लोगों को, ट्राई टू यूज प्रॉपर कीवर्ड्स फॉर ईच एंड एवरीथिंग। अपने मुंह में गलत चीज लाओ मत और मुंह से गलत चीज बोलो मत, क्योंकि जो चीज आप अपने मुंह पे लाओगे और बोलोगे वो आपके दिमाग में फिट हो जाएगा, और इंटरव्यूअर आपके ये कीवर्ड्स के साथ खेलता है। अगर आपने इंटरव्यूअर के सामने ये बोल दिया ना, ये फाइल एक्सेल फाइल, इंटरव्यूअर बोलेगा कोई काम का बंदा नहीं। सही बात है। अगर आप उसके सामने मुंह ही गलत खोलोगे, वो बोलेगा भाई इसको नॉलेज नहीं है। भले आपके अंदर कुछ भी हो, कितना भी छुपा हुआ, उसके पास इतना टाइम नहीं है कि आपके अंदर घुस के देखना कि भाई ये बंदे की कैपेबिलिटी क्या है। क्लियर है? तो पहली चीज ये करो कि भाई प्रॉपर कीवर्ड्स यूज करो। एक्सेल फाइल नहीं होती, एक्सेल वर्कबुक होती है। वर्कबुक के अंदर पन्ने होते हैं, दैट इज रेफर्ड एज वर्कशीट और शीट्स। मैंने आपको क्या बताया, सैंपल सुपर स्टोर एक वर्कबुक है, उस वर्कबुक के अंदर 4 शीट्स थी और एक टेबल था, तो वही हमने देखा वहां पे। क्लियर है? और एक चीज का ध्यान रखना है, सेकेंड थिंग वुड बी सी, ये ऑर्डर्स टेबल हमने लिया। द फर्स्ट स्टेप इज व्हाट, सोर्स। इफ यू सी ओवर हियर, सोर्स में what formula is working, excel.workbook. Basically excel.workbook is the formula which has the capability to read your excel files. Over here you have given one path. Okay, as I told you, each and every refresh, whenever you are refreshing your query, ये कैसे काम करेगा, it will go to first step, then it will go to second step, it will go to third step, it will go to fourth step, and it will go to fifth step. So likewise it will execute your steps. Okay, now let's try to understand what I told you. It is an automation. What do you mean by automation? I have set one query over here, I have set steps over here, so each and every time this step would be performed. For an example, if I tell you go to B20 and find Nawaz, so every time if I tell you bring Nawaz, so where you will go? You will go to B20. So your B20 should not change. For an example, if Nawaz is not available in B20, he goes to B21. Where you will go? You will not go to B21, right? You will just go to B20. You will call Nawaz. Nawaz is not coming. You will say Nawaz is not available. But Nawaz was available in B21. So before that happens, I should tell you instead of B20, go to B21 and bring Nawaz. Okay. So over here, see, we have given one path. Each and every time it will go to this path only. If you're changing your path, if you're changing your file name, if you're changing your sheet name, your entire query will fail. So you need to be careful. If you're changing your path, if you're changing your file name, if you're changing your sheet name, you should come to this query and redefine your steps. If you're not doing it, entire query will fail. Definitely, you have to quote it. See, these are currently we have 5 steps. But moving ahead, you will find 50 to 100 steps over here. Okay. So it's not possible for us to each and every time create a new project. And for an example, if you are creating each and every time you are coming and defining this thing, which means you are not a good developer. Okay. What I said, this would be one-time activity. And it will run months and months. Once in a while, it can come to you to redefine things. Okay. So everything depends on your skills, how you're working and how you're tackling things. So you should create a step which is future proof. Okay. If I know, like I have connected to my uh, on-premises thing, so I should give a dedicated path or a folder, and I should know in future the name of the file or the sheet name should not change. If that is changing, so I have to come and redefine over here. Okay, because as I said, this is automation. In automation, we program once and we do it in the production. So each and every refresh, automatically things will change. We are not going to sit and change everything. Okay, done till here? Okay. So as I told you, each and every query have multiple steps. Okay, and it doesn't mean like if I am creating some step for orders, it will apply for another query. So each and every query should be defined, and each and every query will have its individual steps over here. So you have to work on each and every query. Okay. For an example, as I told you, this is your query window. This is your query setting window in which you have two things. One is your query name. Second would be your applied steps. Okay. Then we have two things. That is, one is your preview window. Basically, this would be referred as preview window. And above you will find formula bar. Basically, this is formula bar. Sometimes what you can find is, if you come to view tab, you will find formula bar not available. You will not find query setting window. Okay. So don't panic over here. What you have to do is you have to come to view tab. In view tab, click on query setting window, click on formula bar, you can find them. Okay. Done till here? Okay. Now let's try to understand more about Power Query. What exactly is Power Query? How Power Query works? And some rules while working with Power Query. Power Query is ETL tool or ELT tool. Okay. Used for data transformation automations. Okay. To retrieve your data, to transform your data, and to automate your data transformation steps. Obviously, we are applying steps over here, which means some language has been written to make Power Query understand when to do what, right? So basically, you would have heard about programming language. You would have heard about standard query language, a query language. But Power Query works on functional language. So basically, Power Query is a functional programming language, functional language. So what do you mean by functional language? What do you mean by function language? Power Query is an application. I'm saying like, what do you mean by functional language? What do you mean by programming language? Codes. So basically we write syntaxes over there, right? We write syntaxes over here, there. So basically programming involves syntax, a line by line action is being performed, right? So basically when we are saying about performing action using programming language, what we are saying, we have to provide a syntax, a program. Okay. When we say about function, so definitely over here also we have to write certain lines that are referred as steps. Okay. So each and every steps, to execute each and every steps, a function is involved. That's why it is known as functional language. Text not, function, steps. Basically, these are steps. And if you click on each and every step, you will find a function. For an example, source, excel.workbook is a function. Navigate equal to source. Source is a function. Change type, table.transform column types. This is a function. So basically, Power Query has its own functional library. That library is known as M functions. M functions. So basically, Power Query works on M functional library. Okay. Now, what do you mean by M? M. What do you mean by M? M means mashup language. Mashup. Have you heard this term mashup? What do you mean by mashup? Picture? DJ? What happens in DJ? One song gets mixed with another song. That do you mean by mashup, right? So why M language is known as mashup language? Let's try to understand. Okay. See, I'll come on this orders. So basically, how many steps you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. Okay. See, for an example, as I told you, no code automation doesn't mean that you can't write any code. If you are expert enough, you can write your own codes from scratch. To write your own code from scratch, what you have to do is, see, you have two options. One is on your view tab, you will find advanced editor. On your home screen, you will find advanced editor. Okay. So what you can do is you can click anything, go with home tab or go with view. You will land to the same window. So basically this is the coding window. For this query, as I told you, how many steps were there? These are the steps. And finally, basically it starts from let and execute your final step with in. Okay. So these are your steps and my final step would be this. See, now what is your first step? Name source. On your second step, you will find the same keyword. What is your second step? Order sheet, right? See, on your promote header, you will find order sheet over here. So each and every step is being created using some other steps. Without that, you can't create a step over here. That's why it is known as mashup. Got it? To create a new step, you need something to refer previous step. It is not like it should be in sequence. For an example, source. I can use this source anywhere over here as well. Okay, so it's not compulsory that the step should be above this step. Got it? That's why it is known as mashup language. Okay. Now one more thing, some rules. Let's try to understand if you are writing this thing, some rules has been involved. The first rule is M language is case sensitive language. M language is, what do you mean by case sensitive?
सेंसिटिव सेंसिटिव है तो डेटा को फेच करते हैं तो रिसिप्ट ना
केस सेंसिटिव का मतलब क्या हो गया? हाँ, कैपिटल क्या? सी प्रोग्रामिंग के बारे में किसी ने सुना है? किया है? हाँ, ब्लैक स्क्रीन होती है और उसमें लिखने का जो तरीका होता है वो केस सेंसिटिव होता है. केस, हाँ, अपर लोअर. फॉर एन एग्जांपल, लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. बेसिकली दिस इज अ लाइब्रेरी which has been designed by the developer. So for an example, in that library, I have a function that is table.remove columns. Let's come to this promote header one. Okay. Promote header. Promote header, the function name is table.promote headers, right? If you see over here, table T is capital. Apart from that, everything is small. Promote P is capital and header H is capital. This is been said by the developer. Okay. Now what I said, M language is case sensitive language. See, you all have used Excel, right? In that Excel, you have written if function, VLOOKUP. Have you ever seen like is it case sensitive or non-case sensitive? If you write VLOOKUP in capital, it will accept it. It will, if you write small, it will accept it. But over here, it will not. As developer has mentioned, or in library tables T is capital, you have to write capital T. Apart from that, if everything is small, you have to write small. For an example, see what I'll do. This promote, I think like promote header is a single word. So I'll write P capital, but header in small, H small. Okay. And if I click OK, see your entire query will fail. Your entire, see, it will not fail on that particular line, but your entire query will fail. Okay. Now let's try to understand. See, for an example, if I am on the last step, okay, but my query has failed. So what you will do? You will start crying, mummy or daddy. Yes.
Check from the source.
Okay, check from the source. Can you see a yellow band? Yellow band coming. Can you see yellow band anywhere? Yes. Okay. So basically, if any error occurs, you will find a yellow band. Just try to put your eyes on that yellow band and try to read what it is saying. So basically, it is saying what? Expression dot error. Firstly, let's try to understand expression dot error means there is something issue with your writing. Apart from that, it is saying the import table dot promote header matches no export, which is saying table dot promote header. This is my step name. Sorry, function name, right? So basically, this is not able to understand. Okay. Now let's take an example. We have 50 to 100 steps over here. We have 50 to 100, 50 to 100 steps over here. Okay. Now, how to know which step is failing? Okay. Now let's try to understand how to troubleshoot your expressions. Okay. What you have to do is you have to start from first. Click on first. Is there any problem? Is yellow band coming? No, which means this step doesn't have any problem. I'll go to second step. Any problem? No. I'll come to third step. Any problem? Yeah. So I need to concentrate on this step. There is something, the first issue. There can be multiple issue, but the first issue is over here. So I need to fix my first issue over here. Okay. So now let's try to understand what is wrong with this step. So as I see over here, it is saying table.promote headers wasn't recognized. Which means this, which means something is wrong with this. Oh, header should be H. I'll make it H. I'll click OK. Things have fixed. Now I will come to second step. Any error? No. Third step, no error. Things are done. This is the way you have to perform your troubleshoot action.
case sensitive है। इसका भी वो जो पास में भी case sensitive ही है।
Everything is case sensitive over here. Okay.
So every word, first letter is. So, does it come in case sensitive?
Which word?
Remove column, remove का R capital is, column का C capital is.
Everywhere you will find different things. It's not like key every first word would be. See, definitely every word is in proper form. Okay. But there is no such rule कि ऐसे ही होगा. This will be the case. Okay. See, now let's try to understand how to learn M. Basically, if I say M language is the most powerful language to make data transformation automations. M language has too many, what we say is too many capabilities to ease your work. Okay, but you need to understand how M is working. Okay, so how to understand? As I told you, this is no code automation. What you have to do is you have to perform the action. For an example, see, if I want to remove this, I have a function over here, remove column. as soon as I perform that action, a new step is been recorded. So I should be eager enough to know like what function is been used and how it has written that function. Okay. So this should be your practice. Let's try to understand to remove a column, what function system is using and how it has written, like what would be the step and what column name. So basically in curly bracket, it has given you your column. For an example, now I want to remove one more column. So now I will not perform the action. Now I know like what I need to do is in this curly bracket, I need to put a comma. In double quotes, I have to write my column name. My column name is what? Order space date. Okay. Close. If I hit enter, see. Okay. Over here, if I click on this commit, basically this is known as commit and this is cancel. Okay. So if I hit commit, see my order date has gone. So for that, I haven't performed any action. I have just edited my step. Okay. For an example, I don't want to remove order date. So what I'll do, I'll just this, I'll click OK. My order date will come over.
Little bit like Python.
You can say it, but definitely Python is a different thing and this is a different thing.
Can you press Control J and
No, over here, a good question. Over here, you don't have option of Control G and Control Y. Undo and redo. Power Query doesn't support undo and redo. Okay. Power BI supports. Power Query doesn't supports. So for an example, see now how to do that. For an example, I've performed one action. I want to go back. So what you will do, for an example, if you have seen, I have performed remove column, right? Now I want that column. So I'll do what? I'll come over here and I'll click this. I'll get that. I can go a step back. Yes. But definitely see, I have option to remove that step, but I don't have option to again add that step using Control Y or Control Z. Okay. Got it? Any doubt till now? So got something like how Power Query works. What do you mean by case sensitive? What do you mean by mashup language? Okay. Now let's try to understand. So we have done with get data, right? Get data. Okay. So now let's try to understand the next step that would be what? That would be analyze your data. Okay. See, now when we see about analyzing your data in analysis, what all things come into picture is how many columns are there? What all columns are needed? How many records are there? How many records are needed? Okay. Then column profiling. Now let's talk about this term, that is column profiling. So basically column profiling helps you analyzing your tables, analyzing your data, analyzing your source. Okay. So if you want to work with column profiling, now the first rule of column profiling is firstly, column profiling will work in each and every version of Power BI desktop. But when you're working on Excel, column profiling is only supported in Office 365, not on desktop versions. You will not find column profiling on any of the desktop version. Let it be 16, let it be 19, let it be 21, let it be 24. No, column profiling is not supported on your desktop version. So if you want take support of column profiling, minimum requirement would be Office 365. If you're working on Power BI, don't worry. Power BI support each and every version of Power BI desktop supports column profiling. Okay. Now, what do you mean by column profiling? Can you see a green band somewhere where above, okay, above and below your first record? Okay. This is a column profiling thing. As soon as I hover on that green band of that particular column, so I can find something like 100 valid entries, 0 errors and 0 empty. Okay. Now let's try to understand. Whenever you're working on Power Query now, it is working on sample data. For an example, as I told you, order table has how many records? 994 records. But this column profiling is showing how much? 1000 records only. Why? If you see down, you will find one option, column profiling based on top 1000 rows. Always and data analyst work on sample and implement on the entire data set. Why? Performance, efficiency. Because see, you're working on a table. Okay. The rule of table says what? Only one data type of one field. Okay. It can't be multiple data types in single field. For an example, row ID, entire thing would be numbers. Wherever there are text in your row ID, it will show you errors. Okay. So as I am confirmed that row ID will only have number, so why should I work on crores of record? It will take more time to analyze. For an example, everyone have taken COVID vaccine. Okay. So the time COVID vaccine was made, as soon as it was made, did you got your COVID vaccine? No. Then what was the process? नहीं, जैसे ही कोविड
Hello, are you still there?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Any doubt?
No, no, no.
Okay. So what I was saying is, now see, as soon as I have done this, I am getting 3 records from you. Valid entries, error, and empty. So what I was saying is, whenever any errors are there now, in the screen, you will find red line as well. If any blank entries is there, you will find black lines as well. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to understand more. If I want to analyze more, how many distinct entries are there? How many unique entries are there? For an example, I want to see like in my ship mode, how many total distinct entries are there? Okay. So what I can do is I can come to view tab. In view tab, you will find over here, you will find data preview option. In this, you will find more options. Second option, third option is column quality. See, in column quality, the thing that you are getting on hover, you will get it over here, displayed. Okay. I'll uncheck. I'll come to column distribution. See, in column distribution, you will find two things. One is your distinct and second one is your unique. So if I come to ship mode, I have 4 distinct entries, 0 unique entries. Now, there can be a question from the interviewer. Difference between distinct and unique. Do anyone know what is the difference between distinct and unique? What?
सर डिस्टिंक्ट और नहीं होता
क्या?
सर डिस्टिंक्ट में तो हमारा यूनिक रिकॉर्ड आता है जो सेलेक्ट कर देता है
डिस्टिंक्ट में कैटेगराइज हो जाता है लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल कुछ सेम होंगे 3-4 कुछ 3-4 अलग तो वो डिस्टिंक्टिविटी अलग अलग होता है पर इंडिविजुअली में सिंगल उसमें कोई एकदम अलग ही एकदम ओके से मैच नहीं कर रहा कोई किसी को
और कोई नहीं. सी कस्टमर आईडी. अगर मैं कहूँ व्हाट आर हाउ मेनी कस्टमर्स आई हैव, सो ओवरऑल आई हैव 793 कस्टमर्स. उसमें वो क्या बोल रहा है 5 यूनिक कस्टमर्स. Do you understand what can be the difference? Okay, let's try to understand. Distinct and unique is what? Unique means उसका occurrence सिर्फ एक ही बार हुआ है. Which means 5 customers has placed their orders only once. And distinct gives you the distinct record. It can be one time, it can be multiple times, but that customer will come only once. Got it? So if I say you, how many customers are my repetitive customers? So how many are there? Galat.
repetitive no?
Repetitive, which has given me orders more than one time. 793 is my distinct record, right? Total is 793. उसमें से I'll minus 5. 5 customer has only placed order once, but apart from that 5, the customers has placed multiple time records.
So we will minus
So 793 would be minus 5. So it would be 788. 788 customers are my repetitive customers.
so that दोनों को अलग अलग लिखा है.
So that's why basically it can be a question for you. What is the difference between a distinct and unique? Okay, so got the answer? Okay.
डिफरेंशिएट क्यों नहीं करते हो
What?
यूनिक एंड डिस्टिंक्ट के बीच में मतलब डेटा तो अलग दिया हुआ है लेकिन फिर अपने को माइनस क्यों करना पड़ता है उसमें वो रीजन
See, it is just an analysis for me. Yeah, I am analyzing it. It is not the common analysis for everyone. And एक चीज समझो.
सर
एक
सर एक्सप्लेन कर लीजिए
एक चीज समझो. एक कार है, वो कार में सारी फीचर्स है. अगर मैं उसको ट्रक बनाना चाहता हूँ वो ट्रक बन जाएगी, बस बनाना चाहता हूँ बस बन जाएगी, एरोप्लेन बनाना चाहता हूँ एरोप्लेन बन जाएगी, साइकिल बनाना चाहता हूँ साइकिल बन जाएगी, है ना? तो फिर आपको और कोई चीज की जरूरत है क्या? एक कार के अंदर ये सारे फीचर्स हम दे सकते हैं क्या? नहीं ना. यहाँ पे अगर मैं 100 डेवलपर्स को बिठाऊं, 100 का दिमाग अलग चलेगा. एक बोलेगा मुझे ये चाहिए, वो बोलेगा मुझे वो चाहिए. इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर ईच एंड एवरी सिनेरियो टू कवर इन वन एप्लीकेशन, राइट? तो जितने बेनिफिट्स हमको दिए गए हमको उसका यूज करना होता है. जो बेनिफिट्स नहीं है उसको ट्विक करके हमको लाना होता है. यही हमारा काम है. अगर एक एप्लीकेशन में ये सारी चीजें दे दी गई, सो देयर इज नो वैकेंसी फॉर अस, no scope for us to get over there. What is your
जो डिस्टिंक्ट है ऑलरेडी 5 है तो अलग ही है मतलब 5 तक यूनिक ही है ऑलरेडी. हाँ डिस्टिंक्ट आने से अगर हमने डिस्टिंक्ट अगर यूज किया तो हमारा तो यूनिक रिकॉर्ड आएगा.
नहीं, डिस्टिंग अगर आप यूज करोगे तो डिस्टिंग के अंदर वो 5 भी है.
तो 5 भी आएगा.
डिस्टिंग के अंदर वो 5 भी है. मैंने क्या कहा? यूनिक
वो रिकॉर्ड्स होते हैं जिसका ऑकरेंस सिर्फ एक ही बार है। यूनिक के अंदर एक बार हो या 10 बार हो, वो एक बार कैलकुलेट होगा ही होगा।
स्ट्रिंग के अंदर काउंट हो गई, बट यूनिकली बाय बाय।
ठीक है, गॉट इट। ओके, नाउ लेट्स ट्राई टू एनालाइज फर्दर। अब मेरे को और देखना है, तो व्हाट आई कैन डू इज, इसको अनचेक करते हैं, कॉलम प्रोफाइलिंग को ऑन करते हैं। सी, अब इससे क्या होगा, द कॉलम दैट यू आर सेलेक्टिंग, उसका आपको डीप डाइव एनालिसिस मिलेगा कि उस कॉलम का काउंट क्या है, हाउ मेनी एरर्स आर देयर, हाउ मेनी एम्प्टी आर देयर, डिस्टिंक्ट रिकॉर्ड्स कितने हैं, यूनिक रिकॉर्ड्स कितने हैं, मिनिमम वैल्यू क्या है। यानी मैं यहाँ पे ये पता लगा सकता हूँ। ऑर्डर डेट पे आते हैं, लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि मेरा सबसे पहला ऑर्डर कब प्लेस हुआ। सो इफ आई सी ओवर हियर, ओके, मेरा पहला ऑर्डर जो था 3/1/2014 में फर्स्ट ऑर्डर प्लेस हुआ था, और लास्ट ऑर्डर जो था, लास्ट ऑर्डर जो मेरा प्लेस हुआ था दैट वाज 30/12/2017। तो इससे मुझे थोड़ा सा और डीप डाइव एनालिसिस मिला, समझ में आया? So this helps you, this supports you to analyze your data. Once I have done the analysis, now I am ready to go ahead. अब मेरे को अगर आगे चल के किसी ने पूछा what was the minimum date, so I know 3/1/2014 is my minimum date. What is the maximum date available on this data set? That is 30/12/2017. How many records? 994 records. How many columns? 21 columns. ये सब मुझे पता होना चाहिए, तभी जाके मैं आगे कुछ काम कर पाऊंगा। ठीक है, जैसे वो होता है ना कि हम शॉपिंग करने को जाते हैं, तो हम पहले पॉकेट ओपन करके देखते हैं ना कि भाई कितने रुपए हैं, उस फिर बोलते हैं ना अपनी औकात इतनी ही है। ठीक है, तो अब ये एनालिसिस करके जाते हो, व्हाट ऑल थिंग आई वांट टू बाय एंड हाउ मेनी मनी आए, हाउ मच मनी आए। तो दिस वाज द एनालिसिस दैट यू हैव डन। तो वैसे ही ये भी होता है कि व्हेनेवर यू आर वर्किंग ऑन अ प्रोजेक्ट, यू नीड टू एनालाइज द डेटा व्हाट यू हैव। ओके, सो हमने ये एनालिसिस कर दिया। अब ये एक बार हो गया ना, जस्ट क्लोज योर कॉलम प्रोफाइलिंग, जस्ट गो ओवर हियर एंड गो विथ कॉलम प्रोफाइलिंग बेस्ड ऑन टॉप 100 रिकॉर्ड्स। Okay, it will pace up your work. Okay, if you're working with the entire data set, for each and every step, it will take time to evaluate. Okay, then with this column profiling समझ में आ गई. Okay, now let's try to understand. We will start working up with transformation. Our third step would be transforming your data. As I see over here, see on my people tab, as I see my headers are not promoted, so I need a function to promote my header. Okay, so I'll come to home tab. Now this would be your task. ये हफ्ता जो है 5 days, you have to work on this. ठीक है, ये सारे बेसिक कमांड्स है। सबसे पहला, you have to go with manage column. Okay, second would be reduce rows, third would be sort, fourth would be transform. ये जो चार ग्रुप है, this group you have to explore. Okay, अब और एक चीज समझो, see if you come above ना, you will find drop down. Okay, so what you have to do is थोड़ा सा एंशियस रहो, अगर ड्रॉप डाउन दिख रहा है तो क्लिक करके देखो क्या क्या ऑप्शन अवेलेबल है, बिकॉज on one command you will find more functions. Like choose column में you have two things, choose column and go to column. अब आपको कैसे इसको प्रैक्टिस करना है, कैसे समझना है, ठीक है, ये मैं आपको समझाऊंगा नहीं, जब नहीं समझ में आएगा तो समझाऊंगा। ठीक है, एक चीज ये है कि मैं समझा, मैंने प्रैक्टिस किया तो समझा, और दूसरी चीज है मैंने देखा ही नहीं तो फिर भूल जाओ, फिर मैंने भी सुना नहीं और मैंने भी बताया। मैंने आपको कहा हूँ फॉर दिस प्रैक्टिस हार्ड करना पड़ेगा, तभी जाके आप छोटे मोटे कलाकार बन पाओगे, क्योंकि बड़ा कलाकार बनने के लिए इट विल टेक टाइम, ये एक दिन का खेल नहीं है। ठीक है, अभी हमारे ही इंटरव्यू में हमारे ही इंटरनल बंदे एक रात पहले पावर बीआई पढ़ के, ठीक है, एंड दे आर सेइंग कि भाई हम बहुत ईगर है टू एंटर दिस फील्ड। अगर आप ईगर हो तो एक रात पहले पढ़ के नहीं, और ये एक रात का खेल नहीं, एक रात पहले पढ़ लिया और मेरे को इंटरव्यू में मेरा सिलेक्शन हो गया, इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल। ठीक है, हाँ, मैंने क्या कहा, चूज कॉलम। अब मैं कैसे प्रैक्टिस करूंगा, मैं पहले क्लिक करूंगा गो टू कॉलम पे, क्या होता है, एक विंडो आता है। अगर मैं कॉलम 2 पे क्लिक करके ओके करता हूँ तो क्या होता है, सिलेक्शन डायरेक्टली वहां पे जंप होता है। चूज कॉलम क्या करेगा, चूज कॉलम पे जाता हूँ, 2 कॉलम दिखेगा। अगर मैं एक को अनचेक करता हूँ और एक को रखता हूँ तो क्या होगा, दूसरा उड़ जाएगा। ये हो गया। प्रैक्टिस होने के बाद ये स्टेप को रिमूव कर दो। अभी जो हेडर प्रमोट नहीं हुआ है, यहाँ पे आपको एक ऑप्शन दिखेगा, यूज फर्स्ट रो एज हेडर। ये 2 ऑप्शन हो गया, यूज फर्स्ट रो एज हेडर एंड यूज हेडर एज फर्स्ट रो। अगर आपका हेडर प्रमोट नहीं हुआ है तो आई विल गो विद यूज फर्स्ट रो एज हेडर। अगर आपका रिकॉर्ड, कभी कभार ये होता है हेडर होता ही नहीं है, रिकॉर्ड होता है और वो रिकॉर्ड हेडर में प्रमोट हो जाता है, तो हम क्या करेंगे, यूज हेडर एज फर्स्ट रो, तो वो नीचे आ जाएगा। तो आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि कौन सा ऑप्शन क्लिक करने पे क्या हो रहा है। दिस शुड बी योर प्रैक्टिस। ठीक है, तो योर टास्क वुड बी मैनेज कॉलम्स, रिड्यूस रोज। रिड्यूस रोज के अंदर 2 चीजें हैं। मैनेज कॉलम्स का मतलब समथिंग रिलेटेड टू फील्ड्स। रिड्यूस रिड्यूस रोज मीन्स समथिंग रिलेटेड टू रिकॉर्ड्स। सॉर्ट का मतलब क्या हो गया, आपके कॉलम्स को ऊपर नीचे करेगा, फिल्टर नहीं, फिल्टर अलग है। हाँ, अब उसके अलावा और एक चीज समझो, सी व्हेनेवर यू वांट टू क्लीन योर डेटा, यहाँ पे कोई क्लीन का ऑप्शन नहीं है। इन शॉर्ट, क्लीनिंग में हम करते क्या है, हम फिल्टर से अप्लाई करते हैं। फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल, मेरे को सिर्फ ईस्ट और साउथ का ही डेटा चाहिए, दूसरा नहीं चाहिए, तो मैं करूंगा क्या, आई कम ओवर हियर और मैं सारों को अनचेक करूंगा, सेंट्रल और वेस्ट को रखूंगा और ओके करूंगा, तो ये डेटा क्लीनिंग हो गया। सो बेसिकली व्हेनेवर यू आर क्लीनिंग योर डेटा, यू आर मेकिंग यूज ऑफ फिल्टर्स। फिल्टर्स के लिए कुछ नहीं होता है, हेडर्स पे जाके आपको फिल्टर अप्लाई करना होता है। ठीक है, क्लियर है, कोई डाउट है, समझ में आया? हाँ, सॉर्ट, देखो पहली बात, यहाँ पे मैं अभी डायरेक्टली सॉर्ट नहीं कर सकता, क्यों, हेडर प्रमोट नहीं है। मेरा पहला काम होगा हेडर को प्रमोट करना। नाउ आई विल क्लिक ओवर हियर। अगर असेंडिंग सॉर्ट, जो कॉलम को सॉर्ट करना है वो कॉलम सेलेक्ट होना चाहिए, ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए कि सिलेक्शन कुछ और है और सॉर्ट में कुछ और कर रहा हूँ। क्या, हाँ, हेडर को ऊपर क्लिक करना जरूरी है कि मैं कौन से हेडर को के हिसाब से डेटा को सॉर्ट करना चाहता हूँ। क्लियर है, डन। सो कैन बी स्टॉप फॉर टुडे। ठीक है, अब और एक चीज समझ लो, लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि लोड टू ऑप्शन, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। पावर बीआई के अंदर लोड टू ऑप्शन नहीं होता है, डायरेक्टली क्लोज एंड लोड ऑप्शन, यानी क्लोज एंड अप्लाई ऑप्शन होता है। मैंने क्या कहा, एवरीथिंग इज सेम ऑफ एक्सेल एंड पावर बीआई। अगर आप पावर क्वेरी पे काम करो, एक्सेल में जो पावर क्वेरी देख रहे हो, जैसे काम करो, एवरीथिंग इज सेम, ओनली वन ऑप्शन, वो ऑप्शन है लोड टू ऑप्शन। लोड टू ऑप्शन जो है ये आपको एक्सेल के पावर क्वेरी में मिलेगा। लोड टू ऑप्शन आपको पावर बीआई के पावर क्वेरी में नहीं मिलेगा, वहां पे क्लोज एंड अप्लाई ऑप्शन होता है। सो बेसिकली ऑप्शन क्या है, देखो ऑब्वियस सी बात होती है, सिंपल सी चीज समझते हैं कि व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय लोड टू। अगर लोड टू, इफ लोड टू ऑप्शन इज देयर व्हिच मींस यू हैव मल्टीपल ऑप्शंस टू लोड योर डेटा टू। जैसे फॉर एन एग्जांपल, इफ आई एम कुकिंग इन माय किचन, आई कैन लोड दैट डेटा ऑन माय dinner table, okay, or else I can load it to the bedroom, or else sometimes I can load it to bathroom as well. ठीक है, तो वहां पे कैसे मल्टीपल ऑप्शन है, वेयर यू वांट टू हैव योर लंच, वेयर यू वांट टू हैव योर डिनर। तो यहाँ पे भी व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग ऑन एक्सेल, यू कैन लोड योर डेटा टू मल्टीपल थिंग। डिफॉल्ट ऑप्शन इज लोडेड इन फॉर्म ऑफ टेबल। When you're clicking on close and load option now, each and every query will load on your Excel workbook in form of table. That is the default option with Excel. But if I don't want to, for an example, as I said, I can analyze my data. I can summarize my data when the data records is more than 10 lakh 48,576. If I'm working on data set which exceeds the limit of Excel, so how can I load that data to Excel file? There is no such option. I can load that data to Excel file because Excel has the limit of 10 lakh 48,576. So maximum that much of record can be loaded, not more than that, right? So in that case, obviously, whenever we are working on crores of records, we are working to analyze it. And to analyze it, every time we can make use of pivot table or pivot chart. Right? Because in that thing, even though the data set is more than 10 lakh, we are just summarizing it. We are making the distinct entries or we are making the unique entries of that particular field. Okay. So in that case, I can summarize my data whenever the limit is more than or the limit is in crores. Okay. So if you want to summarize your data or if you want to create a pivot chart or a pivot table or something else, in that case, I'll click on close and load to option. Okay. See, when you're working on a project, it's not compulsory. The project will end in an hour, in a day, in a week, in a month. So it can take a long time as well. So whenever we are working, we are saving our data, we are closing. Next day, again, we are starting our work from that same step. Okay. So in that case, always what we do is if we don't want to put to a table, if we don't want to put in summarize, if we don't want to put in chart, what we do is we always go with only create connection. In this case, what will happen is whatever step you have recorded, your steps would be saved. Okay, your connection would be made. The data will not flow from that file to here. Okay. When you're going with some other thing that is table, pivot report, or pivot chart, in that case, your data will come over here, your steps will be applied, and your final result will be generated. But when you're going with only create connection, in which only connection would be built and only your step would be recorded, the data will not flow from there to here. Okay. So till we are uh, going to our last step, we are going to click only create connection. We have one more option, that is add this data to data model. This option would be needed when you are working simultaneously when you are working with Power Pivot as well. But for time being, we are not going to use that option because we want to explore Power Query first. Okay, till then, I'll only go with only create connection. I'll click OK. Okay. Okay, now if you're working on Excel 2010, 2013, some versions of 2016, you will find only two options over here, not four. That two options are table and the second option would be only create connection. Because power pivot table and pivot chart, these are the options which are coming from Power Pivot. Okay, but after 2016, as people know, whenever someone is transforming their data, they need to summarize it. So that's why they have integrated that option over here. Okay, so in some of the version, you will find only two options. So if you want to go to power, if you want to build a pivot table or pivot chart, your step would be different, not that tough. Okay, so it's not compulsory. If you have only two options, just upgrade, just pay and upgrade to some higher version. No, you don't have to do that. Okay, so in my case, what I'll do, I'll go with only create connection and click OK. Okay, once I click OK, my queries, my steps would be saved over here. What you have to do is you have to press Control S to save your files. Okay. Now let's try to understand whenever you want to resume your work. It's not key. You will find this query in each and every workbook. For an example, I have used my new ones. So to see how many queries is been designed, what are the steps designed. So what you have to do, you have to come to data tab. In data tab, click on queries and connection. As soon as you click on query and connection, a new window will pop up over here. If you have saved any queries, if you have created any steps over here, you will find it over here. As this is a new file, we haven't worked on this file, so you are not finding anything over here. Okay. But if I close this file, if I come over here on my file, if this window is not active, if I want to see how many queries I have designed. So you have to click queries and connection. You will find all your queries. You can double click over here to resume your work. You can come right click. You can go with edit to resume your work. Okay. Till you're clear, it out. I'll save this file. Okay. I'll save this file to a location of Power BI, OneDrive. Okay. Now what you all have to do is you have to create a group. Okay. Can anyone take the responsibility of creating the group? बनाओगे?
Hmm.
सो सबके नंबर ले लो, क्रिएट वन ग्रुप, नेम create anything, मेरे को भी एडमिन रखना. I'll change the name of the group, or else you can write Power BI weekend WD June 2026. ओके, यू फोर आर देयर. जैसे तुम ऐड करोगे मैं नेली को भी उसमें ऐड कर दूंगा. ओके.
सर इसका पावर पीरियड का
और एक चीज, जैसे ही सारे लोग ग्रुप में ऐड होंगे, व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज यू हैव टू प्रोवाइड योर जीमेल आईडीज so that I can provide the access to two folders. One would be your data sources and your working files. Second would be videos. Okay. But एक चीज बताता हूँ, सी